What's up, and welcome to another episode of the Grind Line Podcast. You're listening to episode 222. I am here tonight with Ryan. Tyler's car blew up, but we are also here tonight with Sarah, the meme queen of Red Wings Twitter, known as @Helmeroids online. Sarah, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. I feel like Tyler's dodged me before, so
You're not the first,
You're not the
and
only
you won't
one.
be the last.
Yeah.
He dodges us pretty regularly and then goes online and says it's my podcast. We're like, well, when you only show up 25% of the time, is it really your podcast, Tyler?
Shit.
Tyler,
Wow.
Tyler, apparently he talked to you earlier, Ryan. I don't know, his car blew up or something.
Let's see what the texts were the other day.
Oh, Lord.
It's this is a crash course in Tyler not knowing how to properly take care of a vehicle.
No oil, ran out of gas, tires blew up.
Oh,
What happened?
you've already hit the nose on the button there. Let's see.
That's an expression.
Huh? Yeah, don't worry about
That
it.
sure is an expression, I said.
Hit the button on the nose, whatever it is. So he broke it to me on Monday morning. I got terrible news this morning. That's how he starts the conversation. Hey,
So
what's
you
up?
immediately think
Worst
someone's
case.
dead.
I'm just like, I thought, yeah, someone died, and I'm like the first person he's telling about it, and I don't know how to handle things right now. So me taking it the right way, and I'm sorry, Tyler, this is just how you're gonna have to find out about this conversation. I was like, job related? He goes, no, car related. I blew my engine in my Jeep. I go, how did you blow the engine? He goes, apparently my oil was a lot older than I thought it was.
There's a gauge for those things, and when you get it changed, they give you a little sticker.
Oh, just wait. I was like, dude, what? Were you not tracking the mileage? He goes, so the sticker on window was 519, but I guess but I was 98% sure I got one in like August. It is
3
April.
months or 3,000 miles, unless you have synthetic, then you can go like 5,000 to 8,000 miles.
Sure. Which he's got it was a Jeep Compass. I think he said 2016. So he's probably got some wiggle room there. But apparently Tyler has learned the hard way to not pay attention to the date on his oil changes and needs to follow his mileage. So sorry, Tyler, you're not here to defend yourself, but it's pretty funny because I've done something similar when I was a teenager and I had to call you out on it for being, 20 something.
Yeah, I had a Cadillac CTS right after I got out of high school.
Oh,
and that
fucking
the
baller.
oil didn't go bad. It ate the oil, and the oil was gone.
Oh,
That's what
I had
happened
an
with
old
that one.
Civic that did the same thing, where every so often I'd have to add oil, even though I wasn't due for an oil change.
Yeah, which
and I
makes
learned the
zero
hard
sense.
way at 16 years old that there's a limit on how much oil can actually go into a car. And that's
There's
how
a
I blew my
limit on
first
how
engine.
much anything can go into a car.
Well,
Ryan.
I had a jug and I just started pouring. I was like, that should work. It's because it burns fast. Nope, didn't work.
Oh, Lord. Well, Sarah's not here to talk about cars and engines and oil and
because
stuff.
I'm like, when did I get my oil changed last? I don't drive every day. I drive like once a week at most, which is also not great.
If you're not watching on YouTube, while we were talking, Sarah went, oh, shit, and ran out to her car to check on her oil. But we have Sarah here because we have her here yearly, and she talks about the Detroit Red Wings Awards. What year are we on?
10.
Year 10. This is a big anniversary.
This is year 10, which is so hard to believe. I'm old now. I was such a year one, Sarah. There's so much you need to know, but it's
you need to do a time capsule.
There's too much to explain. So but yeah, 10 years.
A decade of the Red Wings Awards.
People on Twitter were like still pooping in their diapers when this started.
Oh Lord, what were the problems of the world 10 years ago? I can't remember anything before COVID happened.
I'm like, we were in the playoffs.
Oh, stop. Not very well.
Stop.
No,
oh,
but we were there.
We were in the playoffs. We had Pavel Datsyuk.
A lot of anger over contracts. So, some things have been consistent.
Right. But we want to get to a couple things tonight before we get into the Red Wings Awards, as we normally do. And I kind of want to start off the top with In Motown. We did have JJ on. If you listen to the JJ episode, if you haven't, go back and listen to it. It was about independence, the importance of independent sports journalism, and kind of what it means to the community as a whole and to the sport as a whole. And it was a really good one. JJ is awesome. And it was a great conversation. But you are also part of In Motown. So just, I want to take from your perspective how it all went down and then kind of where it's going. Because Kyle did announce that there will be a reboot probably a little later on towards preseason and stuff. He needs time to kind of collect everything, get it together, and figure out his plan. But I kind of want to get your take on the whole situation of how it went down and then kind of where you're going with it from here.
Sure. I'm like, I don't want to say anything that would get me in trouble. I didn't sign any paperwork, but I didn't sign like a no shit talk paperwork.
There's no NDA.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm like, I don't even remember what month it was, but I found out about it because Steph Driver tweeted that was like her tweet that was like, I've, been let go and something, and like talked about kind of SB Nation hockey as a whole. And I was like, I haven't heard about any of this. So, jumping into the Slack and being like, what the hell's going on, guys? Like, and then kind of the news was trickling out about how they were going to cut all the blogs, but then they were going to just cut most of the blogs. And it was like, who's on the chopping block and what's the criteria? And are they going to keep some? Are they going to lose some? And there was a list released of like which ones were going to stick around. That was totally random. And I couldn't think of any criteria it was based on other than like a check in the mail. So I still don't quite know how that all shook out. But it was sudden, and it was hard. It was hard to think about because I had been writing for WIM for 7 years. And so it was kind of hard to see it all just come to a screeching halt, and not even be able to get through the season. So it was tough to take and hard to process. It's like a weird grieving period, I guess, where I don't like not going out on my own terms, like dramatically quitting or something. I don't think I would have done that.
You had no one to like throw stuff at.
Yeah, there was no like, you can't fire me. I quit. I'm like, well, you can fire me, and I'm not going to quit because I want whatever last paycheck I can get my hands on, and I really like writing.
It wasn't a "you can't fire me, I quit." It was a "oh no, this is sad. Where's my money?"
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't like there was severance or anything. There was just but we were getting paid to do it, and it's not my career. It has nothing to do with my career. It wasn't about the money, but it was just something that I like doing, and I like interacting with everybody, and so some social validation. And I never read the comments, so as far as I'm concerned, everything I've ever written has just gone down beautifully. I'm like
amazing.
Number one writer, everyone's
you're
favorite,
a hit. Every record's a hit.
Every article's a hit. It's amazing. As far as WIM 2.0, breaking news, no one has heard this yet. I will be back. I will be on WIM 2.0. I had been really out of the loop on kind of the transition because I had this conference I was telling you guys about before we were recording, and my sister's wedding, just stuff. It's not really that much, but I can't handle very much either. So
life outside of just hockey and Twitter.
There was so much to handle, and I had to do a good job, which was awful. So I kind of was out of the loop for a little while, and then I was like, wait a minute, WIM 2.0, why haven't I heard about this? So I reached out to Kyle, and I was like, hey, is this real? Like, am I still welcome? Can I be on board? And he was like, yes, absolutely. I would love that. So, as you said, we're still working out. If you see the Twitter and the Facebook page, content is still coming out, and it's on, what's the platform called? Ghost, I think. And I want to say that's like $5 a month for like premium access or something. Like I said, I haven't really dug into it yet. I will be back.
Yeah, I talked to Kyle about it, and he said the same thing. The post says it's $5 to get bonus content. I had messaged him because I've met with Kyle a couple times, like in person, like a long time ago when he was in Royal Oak. And I told him like anything we can do to help. If you're looking for any like content for Motown Wing Forward, like we're open to it. We'll help you out. Let us know. And he's receptive, but I think he's just gathering everything and trying to make sure everything's in place because, like you said, like he has a full-time job. We all have full-time jobs, and we do this for fun because we love the sport and we love making content and we love the interaction with people. But it's a lot to take on when there are only so many hours in the day, and most of those hours have to be devoted to an actual thing that lets you live.
Or tiny terrorists.
Yeah, or very small children in our case, or sisters' weddings, which I hope was fantastic.
It was. There's some drama I won't get into, but it's funny now. But
I don't think I've ever been to a wedding where there's no drama.
But what's important is the weather had held out. as Gary, the retired meteorologist who was staying at the hotel, told us unsolicited and unprompted that it would. So
Thanks, Gary.
Gary was right. But yeah, it was good. But now I'm kind of ready to shift back into hockey and I'll probably not write much, if anything, this summer, and I just need kind of a break. But I'll be back definitely for, I'm always good for a game recap. Those penalty box names aren't going to think of themselves. Like my signature move.
I think we kind of started going over those when they got pretty out of hand on Twitter and very inappropriate, because the penalty box names, there's a lot you can do there. It's a very full basket, if you will. But I want to get your thoughts on the season. So I think when me and Ryan had recapped the season, and I think me and Jake also recapped the season because everyone ditched me last week. But
whatever.
It was, I felt good about it, and Derek Lalone felt good about it. Steve Yzerman felt good about it. There was a lot of measurable improvements, and I thought we did well. But I kind of want to get your thought on how the season went, and in the areas you kind of see us improving or trying to improve in the off season.
I think it went well. I'm not the type of person who really takes those leaps where we're winning a couple of games. And I mean, sarcastically, I'm like, plan the parade, but I've never meant it. I was never really believing in the playoff push. It would have been nice, but I wasn't disappointed when things fell apart. My kind of metric of the season is how many games were just depressing and had no fight back whatsoever. And it was a lot fewer than there were last year. There were some ugly scores this year, but some of the ugly games, like a 5-2 or a 6-2, it's like, all right, well, there was an empty net goal. There was a bullshit penalty, or there was 2 quick ones, and, or things fell apart just for 10 minutes. And that's all it takes is 10 minutes. And then your game is totally messed up.
Yeah, for sure.
Just asked Tampa the other night.
Yes. There weren't a whole lot of games that were just absolutely unwatchable, which compared to the previous 3 seasons is a huge step forward. Having Newsy behind the bench, huge difference. Huge difference. He knows how to manage the team. They all seem to have better attitudes. And we saw way more fight back in the third period than just kind of rolling over and being like, ugh. So I'm encouraged by this season. I know there's people who are very disappointed that we kind of had the downturn from that kind of the Sen series onward. It just was like, boom. There were a lot of injuries, but I think every year there's going to be a lot of injuries, not to sound like Mickey Redmond, but with the pace of the game and the way the game's played, there's always going to be injuries. Guys who are younger are going to get injured more and recover slower. It's just something we're going to have to get used to, and be ready to run that Griffins roster in March and have the no-name fourth line. So.
Well, I think that's one thing Jake brought up last week is that we had talked about that Derek Lalone had said that even though the injuries may not be indicative of how like the team should play, like Yzerman said that he doesn't think the injuries affected us that bad, but they also both said that the last 5 weeks are not what this team is. They said that any play post trade deadline is not they don't think that's what the team is. But Lalone even said that he feels like the first half a season or the first few weeks that maybe they overachieved a bit, which I don't agree with. I think they came out good and they played up to their abilities. But like you said, it's the attitude in the room. And I think, a lot of that's coaching, bringing that attitude. But I think a lot of that's also veteran players. I think that's David Perron coming in and saying, I am not giving up. You guys cannot give up. This is what needs to happen. And he also had said that they had said that he's basically the last one who said, we're not going to make playoffs. Like he, up until the very end, he's like, no, we're going to push. We're going to make playoffs. So I think that's part of it too, is getting guys in there that believe in the team, believe in the system, and just need to push you forward. And that comes with guys like Perron, that comes with guys like Mata, who have won stuff before and know what attitude it takes to win.
Yeah. And you need guys, and the injuries, we all know that I've been, dying on the Rasmussen hill my whole life, but it shows, how critical a player he is, that once he was injured, it was like something collapsed down on that third line. We needed him there, so injuries show kind of which players are really critical and which players it's like, we all love Robbie Fabry, but like, him being injured didn't destroy the team as much as Ras did. And maybe that's just me being a Ras fangirl, but I'm 100% correct. So
I think
sorry,
you'd be
haters,
hard pressed
I'm
to
right.
find a lot of people that disagree with you.
I'm right.
Yeah, I know the Robbie Fabry thing is a big thing for me because it kind of almost goes, and granted, his injuries were pretty severe, but he's making money. He's on the cap, and he's not on the ice. He's on the ice for a little bit, gets injured again. Now, I think he probably could have come back, but as a precaution, they're like, don't worry about it. The season's a wash. Go rehab. If he comes back and he's in for a few weeks and gets injured again, I think at that point you got to look at maybe you need to buy out Robbie Fabry. Maybe you need to try and move him, but moving an injured player is so hard. So, like you said, losing Fabry didn't really have a huge impact. Losing Michael Rasmussen, and I think a lot of it was his physicality and his ability to move players out of the way. And his net front presence is a lot of what was lacking, especially on the power play, is where Michael Rasmussen ended up being really good. So I think that, and you're right, it's Rasmussen had a huge leap forward, and losing him was like a giant gut check for the team, and they failed it miserably.
Yeah, I think kind of the one good thing is that it. I'm not going to say it forced Yzerman's hand, but it encouraged him to make, cut Bert loose, and cut everyone's favorite player, Phil Perron loose, and just
I thought you were going to say Oscar Sundqvist.
But that would be true. So, no. But it kind of, if I'm not sure what would have happened if we were more firmly in a playoff position, if he would have been like, oh, or if he was like, no, I've had on my list since July who I'm going to want to shuffle out if the opportunity arises. So, having to make tough decisions and not just saying, we'll let it ride another year. I mean, that's a good indication of the rebuild. And my last point will be having teams start their starting goalies against us. That's like my number one metric of are they just throwing in the bum who has like a 80% save percentage and who really needs a boost of confidence, or are they showing a little respect and not benching all their top players? So I feel like we're getting shown a little more respect, and that to me is part of the rebuild process where teams aren't like, all right, easy 2 points. They're like, all right, no, we'll like put our real team out there, see how it goes.
Though I will say we made Brian Elliott look like Patrick Waugh.
I thought about making the comment about Elliott at the end of the season, but I was holding off. So fuck you, Greg.
But I do want to move on to the Red Wings Awards. Actually, you know what? Before we do, and I'm going to do this early in the episode, we're going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsors, because I think we have another one again this week. I got to read scripts.
Yeah, it's the Meme Factory. We're sponsoring you.
It's a sponsorship where we get a free lifetime supply of memes. But we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. From tee to green, the best place to go to get in on all the action happening on the links is DraftKings Sportsbook. This week, new customers will receive an odds boost to add plus 1,000 to any pre-tournament wager up to $10 on any golfer to win. So for example, if you're a new customer and you see a golfer to win the tournament at plus 1,000 odds, DraftKings will boost that golfer to plus 2,000 odds for your shot at a bigger payout. DraftKings will be featuring parlays and odds boosts all tournament long, so be sure to check the DraftKings Sportsbook app every day before the tournament starts to see what they have in store. Download DraftKings Sportsbook app now, use promo code THPN, and boost your odds during the weekend's tournament. That's code THPN, only on DraftKings Sportsbook. And we're back, and as we said earlier, it is the 10th year of the Detroit Red Wings Awards. I'm just actually waiting for them to acknowledge it, and we're starting to get the connection, so we may be able to get it out there and maybe just get the awards retweeted. I think we can push for it this season, because Stacy is awesome. If you listened to our episode with Stacy, she absolutely knows who you are. Like
I did.
by Twitter handle, and your work is recognized and appreciated by the actual Detroit Red Wings social team.
We'll have to get the Tigers social on here one of these days too to get the feedback on.
They know who I am. I am.
Oh yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Everyone knows my name.
An episode dedicated to your memes.
Damn it, Ryan. They all know me.
Got to get the inside track.
I want to go through. So we're going to go through a few awards. I don't want to go step by step because it gets very, very like monotonous. But I picked some out that I think have competition or that are really good. That are going to be fantastic or new. But I want to start off the top. Are you going to do anything with this practice vote? Please give us the results of the practice vote at the awards.
I guess you'll just have to show up, find out.
Every year, Sarah. So we start off with the best and worst game of the season, which everyone's going to have opinions on, and there are far too many games to go through for that. But I want to start on the 3-leaf clover award. So the 3-leaf clover award is worst luck. And there were a couple ways that you could go with this, because you go, oh, were they injured, or were they just bad, or like what's going on with the player? And for me, I think I went more with a combination of both bad luck and injury. And again, and I think it was my vote last year, it's got to be Filip Zadina. So it was his year. And I think we've said that several times. It's his year. It's his year. He's going to do it. He's going to come out. He's going to blow the doors down. Filip Zadina's going to have a 25-goal season. He's going to be real dominant. And
maybe we stop talking about it. It'll actually happen.
Like, maybe.
Ignore it. Like, completely just shut him out from everything. Don't even let him come to like team dinners.
But I have to talk about it now because he has to get this award. I mean, he started out like, we'll always say he's a good possession player. He's gotten better defensively.
Ryan looks like that like LA Noir meme that's like press X doubt.
Ryan gives me the but. He's gonna say but he's not scoring goals. And then what he did, he like broke his leg or whatever and was out for a very extended period of time. Came back and actually looked good. Right in like the 6 games he was in, he looked good. He scored a couple goals. He was getting points. He looked confident, and then he got injured again. So Filip Zadina has to be my most unlucky player.
It's hard to go against that one. I can't remember who I chose. It was either him or Fabry. And the reason I went with Fabry, if I did choose him, I think I did pick Zadina. But Fabry he can't stay healthy. I was just looking at his stat line. Like, he's had his most games in one season, but 72 games. He's barely scratched the surface, crossing 50 the last couple of years, COVID year not included. Like,
every time Fabry steps on the ice and someone even breathes near him, I'm like, there goes his knee. That's going to be his knee. Just
that first game back, I thought he was going to blow his knee back out.
Because he got like hit or something. I was like, there he goes.
He should play all his regular season games in a non-contact jersey.
But yeah, Zadina, I think that's fair. I can't really say much else that you didn't already touch on, but the points got to happen. Like, he went 8 straight games of no points throughout the month of March before getting hurt again, and he only had 2 points in between that whole outside that span. Like, can't have that, man. You got to be better. I don't care if it's assists. We know the pucks aren't going to the net, so that promise you gave fucking day one already got thrown out the window. So just do anything other than breathe. That's all I ask at this point. Anyway.
Do you think he's possibly off-season trade block? Maybe just like fresh start kind of guy, because it really was a season. Yzerman even said we were penciling him in for offense. And if that's who you're penciling in for offense, who has proven in the past few years that his offense has not been there, and then he gets hurt, I mean, do you think maybe he could get moved?
Oh, yeah, he gets moved and then he scores 30 goals.
God, I'll be so pissed.
The number one export of Detroit is players who go on to win championships in other cities across all sports. Like, I'm Prashant, figure this out. What city has sent out the most future champions over the last 6 years? Detroit has to be up there.
I will send that to him, because we're supposed to have Prashant on the podcast to talk about analytics, and I do want to know that, because Red Wings got to be up there. I mean, how many Red Wings are currently in the playoffs right now? It's a good number.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the Pistons, but between the Lions, especially the Tigers, their whole pitching staff just sent
let's not get more depressed.
And I will point out, for anyone who has not voted yet, which you all are going to, that for the best and worst game, this time I listed out every single game so you don't have to look it up. Do you know how much work that was? It was like 15 minutes.
I was expecting a lot shorter of a list, and then I opened it up. I was like, oh, man.
Yeah,
bravo to you for that.
I didn't narrow it down at all. I let democracy reign, for better or for worse.
That was a theme through a lot of the awards, where I hit the button for the menu and I'm like, oh my God, this taking up my whole screen. Like, there are so many choices, which I think is probably even harder, because then you got to go through your head. Like, I think it took me twice as long to vote this year than it did last year, because there were just so many choices, which is a good thing.
I put the criteria. I think a lot of it was like anyone who's played 15 or more games, I think was a cutoff for a lot. Whatever. I'm not rigging the ballot. I know I said that before and then I was a little bit, but this time for real, I did not rig this ballot.
And next you'll be like, well, rigged it a little bit.
Might have stretched the truth a little bit.
I want to move on to the Phoenix Award for Most Improved Player. And we talked about him a little bit earlier. And I love that I open it up in the first name I look at Gustav Lindstrom, and I'm like, nope. It's Michael Rasmussen, because the guy he's a guy, as Larry Murphy would say. But I think he's the guy that every year, and we looked at him initially and we said, is Michael Rasmussen going to be a good player? There's a chance he's going to be a good player. Is he ever going to get the credit he probably deserves? Probably not, because of where he was picked, which isn't his fault. His draft position is not his fault. And will he ever live up to, he's pick number 9? Will he ever live up to that number 9 pick? Maybe. I mean, there are guys who are picked number 9 that aren't even playing in the league. So I think he just keeps developing. He goes in with the mindset every year that, like we had said, that his offseason goal was to get better at hockey. And we're like, thanks, Michael. But everything he says to you, he says with a death glare. So you have to believe him, or else like there's sleep paralysis demons that will attack you or something. It's just Michael Rasmussen has been a steady skater, a great net front presence, an angry man who clears people out of the way, is willing to jump in. And it's the muscle. I think it's the muscle that you missed after he got injured that kind of took the team on a little bit of a slide. So that included with trading guys away who were like their best friends. But Michael Rasmussen is my most improved player of the season. And I think that will actually probably keep going, because he took a big step this year. And next year, I think that step can go even further.
I want to say that's who I also chose. It was between him and Jake Wallman. And Wallman, you could argue because he was hurt. And we saw how he came flying in last season, but the way he earned that contract and got the extension, it's hard to say that the impact that he had on this team wasn't huge, especially when it came to playing with Mo Seider, and the way we saw the game elevate between those two when they're actually together, and now with it of Ben Sherratt. So either way, I don't think you can be in a bad spot with one of those guys. If it's not one of those two, I'll be very surprised.
Yeah, and to each of their credit, for one, he won last year. He won the Phoenix Award last year. And to Wallman's credit, I forgot he was even on the team last year. So I still feel like I need to look that up, and that saying it, they're gonna be like, he wasn't on the team, you idiot. Like, so I feel like
it was very few games.
So I feel like either one of you could be, have a point, and there's some supporting arguments.
With Wallman, I think my argument against Wallman is just there wasn't enough sample size to just be like, you're the most improved player because he didn't play like 40 games last season for us. I would say that if he does this again, like it's hard to say now. Well, now you can't really say next season that he's the most improved because he's already really damn good. And if he like doubles his output, like he'll be the best defenseman in the league. But I think it's Rass's award, unless you need like a God award for the Red Wing who just became insanely amazing.
And that's kind of what this award is. Not as dramatic.
The Nick Lidstrom Award for most perfect Red Wing. I think that's what it would have to be going forward.
No, that's like, those, it's like Nailed It, where they'll have like a Cookie Monster cupcake and then someone else attempted to make it. It's just like, that's like even Lidstrom to cider, like you're still going to have that like melted pile blue frosting with poorly added googly eyes. So
Nailed It is one of the best shows ever created. It's not just the creations, it's the hosts. And I found an episode of it the other day that I had forgot to watch in one of the seasons. Like Netflix had no red bar. And I'm like, that's strange. I've watched every episode and I watched it. It just reminded me how amazing Nailed It is as a show.
New segment for the Mojo show. The Nailed It challenge against maybe like Spencer Torkelson and Riley Green have like Wings versus Tigers, like head to head.
The Tigers do now, their home run thing is to put on a Red Wings helmet and grab a stick and do like a slap shot whenever one of them gets a home run. We will take that to Stacy. Stacy, we need a nailed it challenge between the Red Wings, and I think that would be hilarious. And then you can get Lisa McDowell in on it. She'd be like, that's the most unhealthy thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, and you need like the fire marshal there for safety.
Yeah, we need giant buckets of water. We're going to move on to the player on the list who we had forgotten about. Now, I read through this, and there were players that I had legitimately not remembered until I read their name again. I will start off the top with Matthias Broma. And I'm like, oh, Broma, now I remember him. He played like 5 games for us.
Is it Matthias or Matthias?
Matthias Brome. Let's all pick a way to say it. I'm going to say
whatever.
Matthias Brome.
I thought that's how I thought it was.
If I pronounce it, now see how much we have forgotten about him. If I pronounce it by looking at his name, his first name is Math. The last part of his name is Ias. So Matthias.
There's your first problem is that you're taking the English spin on a very non-English name. They say Puce Suter. But Matthias Broma, who in 2020-21, I'm like, he played what, 5 games for us? No, 26. With a goal. Right, that many games?
If you're not watching, Ryan did like a freeze frame spit take.
It's amazing.
A real record scratch moment.
Wow.
26 games with a goal and an assist. And I'm like, he played what, the rest of the season in Grand Rapids? Nope, 2 games. 2 games in Grand Rapids, 26 games for the Detroit Red Wings, which shows, I mean, and again, it's dudes like that and Pontus Andreasen who are like, we're like stoked. We're like, yes, these guys, maybe it's a guy that no one's picked up and they're going to come in, they're going to provide something. Yeah, and absolutely nothing. So he was my first one. My second one was the Juice is Loose, was Christian Juice, who again is one that people are going to be like, yeah, Christian Juice. What did he play, like 5 games for us? And
he broke the power play drought. He is the one who scored the goal. If nothing else, he shall be remembered.
He played 36 games and had 11 points for us after coming from his previous team was Anaheim. He went from Washington to Anaheim to Detroit. He is now playing for Zug in the Swiss A League and has 36 points in 52 games. So Juice was my second.
He was always a bummer. Like
as a person?
No, like not getting playing time. I was disappointed that when he got brought in, he was just kind of, hey, you can just hang out in the press box.
That's Jeff Blashill.
But like he was one of the more better offensive defensemen that was brought in, and you're like, no, we're not going to play you. That's stupid. Why would you help us?
Yeah, he was really popular in Hershey. The Caps farm team, really popular in Hershey. So that was kind of, he could just stay there. He would have been happy.
Yeah, and he did better for us than he did for both the Ducks and the Caps. So I like, again, in the small sample size that he had, it probably, and I think we had said it too, like, why aren't they playing him? But again, it's Jeff Blashill. Jeff Blashill hated people he didn't know, and he didn't know Christian Juice, so Christian Juice didn't play. It's the same reason Dennis Chalowski was scratched when he went to go play in front of his fans and on his bobblehead night. And it's just, it's D minuses all over to Jeff Blashill. We'll just blame him for everything. Was Jeff Blashill on the scapegoat award?
No.
He should be. From now on, Jeff Blashill goes in the scapegoat award.
We're not having another Marian Hossa moment.
No, we need to replace the Marian Hossa moment with a Jeff Blashill moment. Yeah, I need a write-in. And then we will force everyone to write in Jeff Blashill. The third one on my list of players we had forgotten about, and this one I only slightly forgotten about, and it was Calvin Pickard. Calvin Pickard, backup goaltender. Yep, he was a thing. And then he played in Grand Rapids.
I remembered him far more than Dick Panic, which is disappointing because Panic's name was fantastic. And that's the only reason I liked him is because I could say Dick Panic.
Well, the reason I remembered Dick Panic was because my fantasy team's name was Panic at the Dixo.
That's so good. Oh, yeah, no. Pickard I actually had an appreciation for, and I was like, oh, great. He's coming to Detroit where he's not going to repeat anything that he's doing in Grand Rapids. I can't wait. And that's what happened.
Did you know that Calvin Pickard played in Detroit in 2019-20, 2020-21, and 2021-22?
How many games is that?
3 games in 2019-20, 6 games in 2021 after coming from Vienna, Austria. and 3 games in 2021-22, and he did play 3 seasons with the Griffs. Well, part of 3 seasons with the Griffs before going to Bakersfield, and he actually played for Bakersfield this season and did fairly well, went to the playoffs.
Good for him.
Was that it, right?
I have nothing else to add on the subject of Calvin Pickard. Because for the longest time, I called him Pickard. And then they finally said his name properly. I was like, oh, that's weird. That's about all I got. Like, so cool. And the fact that he only played, 12 games for Detroit over 3 years?
Exactly. Did you find anyone else on the list that you had forgotten about?
The only other one I mentioned, Panic Juice. No, that was it. I mean, John Merrill, I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot about him a little bit. But then I was like, no, he actually played quite a bit and he still plays. So.
Yeah, Mitchell Stevens was another big one just because he was injured most of the time and didn't really get any play. And he was another one we were kind of excited about because we're like, we need a depth center. We need a depth center. And when he was in, he played a great depth center role. And it was like, he's one where it was literally like 5 games that Mitchell Stevens played because he kept getting hurt.
Alex Biega, I guess, would be one.
No, the forever utility player, Alex Biega. Sarah, when you were pulling the list, did you find any that you're like, oh, hey, yeah, that guy?
Yeah, I think Matthias Brome and like it's like I'd see people like, oh yeah, Alex Biega, the Bulldog. Like I'd think of a meme or something that was like related to them. I was surprised to find Valtteri Filppula on the list. I thought he would have been like 10 years gone. But I was like, no, he's not. He's still on the list.
That was very recent. And I was even wrong about Mitchell Stevens. He played 27 games for the Detroit Red Wings. That's like a quarter of a season.
Yeah, so there weren't too many that I was like, but I think, yeah. And then I was like, oh, Franz Nielsen. I think I'd forgotten about Patrick Nemeth. I think and him and Nick Leddy. But then I was like, oh yeah, Nick Leddy. You just say the name and you're like, oh yeah, I remember him now. But that there were so many, I was like, why is there so many names on this damn list?
It's your choice. You put the list together.
Well, I picked the awards before I do the list, and I can't just go back on my award like a coward. I got to put the work in. See, I put work into this for real. So y'all have to go vote.
Everyone vote. That's the bottom line is everyone needs to vote. I couldn't talk about the Wingsbane Award for most hated or frustrating opposing player because there are just so many. So I have a question about the Highbrow Award.
Okay.
Is the Highbrow Award retiring? Because it says it's time to settle this once and for all. And I looked at it and I'm like, but what if we get another player with really good eyebrows? Because Jake Wallman's got really good eyebrows.
Yeah. I don't think it will be forever retired. I think it's kind of like best hair where it's going away for a while when there's like until there's a real some real turnover.
So there's gonna be a hiatus.
People are like, where's best hair? I'm like, you just want to vote for Mo Sider. Fuck off. Or you want to be funny and vote for Newsy. Stop it.
Amazing.
Sorry if you have to bleep that out.
We don't bleep fucks on this show.
No, we got yelled at for cursing actually on a YouTube comment.
We lost a listener because we said too many fucks on our show.
Well, I've only used one out of my quota, so I'll save them up. But yeah, sometimes there's like, where's this award? Where's that award? I'm like, I'm trying not to have ones that are just totally not competitive, and because that's just work I have to do for like I could make the award right now before anyone votes. So I like for some of the classics, sometimes there's running, but they're classics. I'm going to keep the classics, but for Highbrow, we're settling this on who we have and we're moving on. And depending on the team vibe will be whether or not I bring it back or bring in something new.
So unless there's crazy like eyebrows brought in via free agency trade this offseason.
Yeah, what if we get some free agency eyebrows, Sarah?
Yeah. Well, it depends on my personal opinion. And 2, if I think of a new award, which I've already thought of 1 or 2 while we've been talking, I'll replace it. They switch in and out. I might bring back award from year 1 that no one has ever thought about before since then, because nobody followed me back then. They don't know what the awards were from year 1. So we'll see.
Are these historically kept somewhere like out for the public?
I mean, they're on my Twitter, but I keep them
They're in the congressional records,
I
Ryan.
have them all on my computer still. On the computer. Yeah, I have them all on my computer. The Meme Factory Archives has every award from every year maintained. And they're still on Twitter if you know how to find them.
So for the 10th anniversary, you just got to cover some of the older ones, like past winners of the award. Like here's who's winning it in year 10, and if they overlap with year 1 awards, here's who won it in year 1 versus year 10, and then we can be like, oh yeah, that guy who used to totally play.
Or you'll be really depressed when you're like, oh, I wish we had that guy.
Jeez, that'd be every one of them. We're going to move on to what I think is my favorite award, and it's kind of hard to do as an award unless you're gonna, I guess, pick the 4 from the most voted players on the list for the Dangles and Dragons Award, which is your ideal adventuring party to join your quest. And by the way, Sarah, how's your Dungeons and Dragons campaign going?
It's going. We have lost a couple of players temporarily, so it was on life support for a while. We did play last night. It had been a couple of weeks, and we did well. We didn't die. Someone came close, but it happens. We're running Tomb of Annihilation.
Nice. Now I always look for groups that are willing to play and can actually put the effort into it, because normally people say they want to play and then you get like 3 sessions in and you lose like 6 people and then you can't play anymore. So I'm always looking for a good Dungeons and Dragons group, but this was interesting because I picked players based on what their role in the team would be. And I started out with Dylan Larkin. He's the leader of the team. He's the guy who's going to go out and take charge and keep the team together. I picked Mo Sider because Mo Sider is going to be the goofy, enthusiastic, bard-like player of the team, who will be fantastic. I picked Lucas Raymond, who I have as kind of the rogue-like player, small, shifty, can get in and out of places. I picked Lucas Raymond there. And I picked Michael Rasmussen as the absolute barbarian of the team, who's just going to scream his way through dungeons and rip people's heads off. So that's my Dangles and Dragons party. It was well thought out, and I've got a person who kind of fits each scenario. So I was very proud of myself on this one.
Yeah, I didn't go that deep with it. Pretty sure off the top of my head, I had Cider, and then I had Darren McCarty to fight things. Pretty sure I had Larkin on there. And then I rounded it out with Mickey Redmond because he
For
is
the
your...
lulz?
Huh?
For the lulz? Is he like your aged
He's your
wizard?
survivalist. He's your outdoorsman.
He can make a smokeless fire. You're going to be sorry when you need a smokeless fire.
He is going to be the ultimate He's like your wizard. Mickey's the wizard.
Mickey is
your wizards in
Gandalf.
Dungeons and Dragons?
Yes, Ryan. Wizards are in Dungeons. There are wizards and sorcerers.
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be Dungeons and Dragons. It could be like
Greg's already taken it
any game that you like to play. I've been playing Dragon Age Inquisition again myself. So you can have your whatever party you want. I didn't want to limit it to D&D nerds because I'm not. I don't feel like I've done even enough D&D to be a nerd. But I thought the pun had potential, and it's a new one, and you think I know how to do my awards, Greg. Come on. I already know how I'm going to do it. Come on.
Oh, okay. But I don't know how you're going to do it. And every year I try and get a little bit more information out of you. You'd never slip. So I applaud you on never slipping. But this is a lot. There's a lot going on here. I mean, you could grab someone like, let's see, you could have grabbed Tyler Bertuzzi, who's going to be your scrappy guy in the party. You could have grabbed Jimmy Howard, who's literally the Hulk on television. Guys,
it's giant hands.
Giant hands.
Like, oh.
One of these times, I just want to see the Ricky Bobby where they just start going up, and like you just see Keats reach over and put his hands down.
I don't know what to do with my hands. That kind of moment. It's like I look at him and I envision like Kingpin from Marvel. He's just sitting there in the white suit, and he needs a cane, and someone needs to shave his head. But you could pick Jimmy Howard, who will just bust down walls for you. I love how you have, actually, you know who probably should be in your party? Daniela Bruce, because she's got all the insider information. So there's a lot of ways you could go with it. And I applaud you for this one because it's very, 1, creative, and 2, there are so many options and so many different directions people can go with it.
Yeah, and that's being reflected in the votes. Like a lot of people have gotten a fair number of votes And yes, there are people who want Art Regner in the party. So that just shows the diversity of the Red Wings fan base.
Are they using him as like a meat shield? So is Art a trap?
Well, it depends on like what your adventure is. If you're just looking for like, yeah, maybe he's a meat shield. I don't know. But like it depends on what, if you're like, oh, we need to have really good combat skills. Maybe you've got, your tanky guys, or be like, we're just gonna do like politicking and entertaining and not fight a lot of people so we can have the old man squad.
Man squad.
When I made the award, I was like, let me just include everybody who I possibly can and see what happens. And it's really interesting the way that it's shaken out right now. I'm glad it wasn't just like everyone has picked the same person. Not even close. Not even remotely has people all been like really heavily favoring anybody.
Well, if you need the winners photoshopped as their respective classes, let me know. I will do it for you. The next award I want to talk about is the Welcome Wagon for the best first year Red Wing. This was actually a little hard for me because of the choices that you put out. So I looked at it and I'm like, I got to go with Berggren, right? And then I went down the list and you look and you go, David Perron. David Perron has been essential to this team. He's brought, like we said, leadership, points up on the board. Great special teams guy. You look at Simon Edvinsson, who had a really good tryout late in the year. But I went with Derek Lalonde because I think overall, if you're bringing what you bring to the team, and Lalonde has brought poise. He's brought insight. If you've watched him at all during the playoffs in the Canadian broadcast, he's in intermission doing like breakdowns. He apparently gave away national secrets about Vasilevsky, which was fucking stupid. Anyone with functioning eyeballs could see that Vasilevsky is having a hard time. But I think the way that he's worked with the players and the culture that he's trying to build and having an individualized approach and going out there and making them competitive every night and be like really busting balls on some nights. He will go out and say, hey, this guy I didn't think did well, or if they deserve praise. You notice that he very rarely called out guys by names, but when he did, those were guys that everyone else noticed as well. Like he called out Michael Rasmussen when he had a really good game and a couple other players. But I think Lalonde was my best first year wing because aside from being such a breath of fresh air from previous regimes, I think he brought a ton to the table that sets this team up to move forward in a very positive way.
Yeah, I thought about the way you went about the vote, but then I just kind of went the easy way out with Perron. The impact that I think that he was able to make on this team so quickly, to me, is what stood out the most. I originally was going to go Berggren and then kept going down and saw Perron, because usually I think impact first year, I'm thinking more of a rookie type player. But without Perron, like there's no telling where we were at for this season. I mean, it wouldn't have been good, most likely. And Sarah, to your point earlier, like we probably would have seen more of those really shitty games because he provided a different element that the rest of the roster really doesn't have. And to me, that's been invaluable. And hopefully with what they can add going into this offseason, he can take a step back a little bit, but still provide that sense of self, I guess is a way to put it.
It's grounding. He's a very grounding guy.
So hopefully that can continue it next season. They're going to need it even more, I feel like, and because there's going to be roster turnover, and we know the impact a veteran like him can bring. We've already seen it. So if you can surround him with more talent, give him less of a role and just kind of shift him down, you can still throw him on the power play. It's going to be a win, and that's what's going to be important. So that's why I went the Perron route.
Yeah, I had said previously, I mean, I'd be perfectly fine with David Perron retiring as a Red Wing. I think he's a kind of guy that even if his points dip, the intangibles, those are what are going to keep him.
Grit.
It's not even just the grit. It's
that he never stops talking. Every single player on the team, anytime they ask like who talks or who's like, it's always that he never stops talking. He's just constant chatterbox, which they seem to enjoy, or it forces, or he's like, if you don't play well, I'm going to never stop talking to you. I'm going to tell you all these really long, boring stories, and you're going to wish that you had scored a goal.
Maybe he's the dude who just has endless facts. Like he's constantly telling you like weird trivia shit that you don't want to know but becomes useful later on. Like you're held hostage and they ask you a really weird trivia question. You're like, oh my God, thank you, David Perron, for answering this for me. But he's just a genuine dude. I think that's part of it. And he's like he's taken over the mantle of team dad. I think every year the Red Wings seem to have a team dad. And I think this year it's David Perron. And just the impact that he's had on the team is not always measurable on the stat sheet, even though it is this season, because he was like, the second highest point getter on the team. But it's also measurable off ice and in the locker room in just kind of that extra stuff that he brings. But Sarah, who was your best first year wing?
I don't know. I mean, obviously I don't vote. I don't know why I said it sarcastically because it's actually true, but
that sounded real suspicious.
Yeah, I think I probably would have given it to Newsy just in terms of sheer impact. Like under another year of Blash, I think would have really broken people, not like fans and players. So I think in terms of just instant impact, instant relief, at least for the fans, that he probably would have been my pick. I keep saying things really weird, like ask questions or sarcastically. Sorry,
I'm Ron Burgundy.
Sorry, I'm tired. Newsy, I would have picked Newsy.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too. Is just it's not his impact on the team, but it's his impact on the fan base as a whole. Because I think we all would have probably suffered a lot more. Like I think we had said, Ryan, that this is the first year that we've had like a genuinely positive podcast on most nights, because things are going in the right direction. And we've got Newsy and he's giving positive feedback and he's keeping kind of the emotions at bay, where he'll say, we're good now, but guys, like pump the brakes. Like we don't need to talk about playoffs. We don't need to talk about, oh my God, this is the direction we're on. Like we still need to be patient. There's a lot of work left to do. So it's just keeping it all level. I think it really helped us throughout the season. So
yeah, not being the major league movie groundskeepers saying we suck again week after week was kind of a nice change up.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
He's calm and level-headed until there's goaltender interference on the line. That's going to get him hot under the collar.
Didn't you make that a shirt?
It is. I do have a shirt that says, I think it just says, what the fuck? Yeah, what the fuck even is goaltender interference? But yeah, I made it into a shirt. So that's up on our shop on Redbubble if you want to go get the Newsy screaming what the fuck shirt. It's up there. You can go get it. Actually, I think I'm ordering it as a sticker to put on my car, because there are stickers there as well for when people start tailgating me, because Michigan drivers are absolutely awful.
One last thing on that one. I love that he came out after the fact and said, I didn't say anything bad.
What are you talking about?
I appreciate you even more now.
I even posted that, I think, in a GIF on Twitter, like Newsy afterwards. And it's the Ron Burgundy GIF where he's like, I'd never fucking say fuck. Yeah, that was a good one, because that's what it reminded me of, because he's like, no, I don't think there was anything bad in there at all. I'm like, Newsy giving interviews.
Because he just he just had a whiteout and like full rage. He doesn't remember what happened.
He passed out actually and woke up in the locker room.
He's like, why am I here? He wakes up and he just goes, did we win? Yeah, yes, Newsy, we won. Good. The last one I want to cover tonight is the MVP of the season. And I thought it was a lock. There's a lot of people, if you talk to Daniela, I think she might say that it was Ville Husso. And there's a lot of love for Ville Husso, even though sometimes it didn't go his way. And Yzerman had said that maybe he fell apart towards the end of the season because just mentally he broke down a bit. And he even said himself recently that he wants to come into next season more mentally prepared. So there's that. I might still have to give it to Dylan Larkin. I mean, Dylan Larkin is the captain. Like, dude is the captain now. Like, he's fully assumed that mantle. And he took his play to, I think it was 1 point off of a point per game, which kind of bummed me out. But for all intents and purposes, Dylan Larkin was basically a point per game player. And he upped his game while still being super solid defensively.
Pretty sure he finished the year hurt, too. Playing hurt, I should say.
Well, he's played parts of the past 2 seasons hurt, basically. But Larkin really kind of stepped it up, lost his best friend partway through, and not like his best friend died.
Sad dog movie.
Not like his best friend died. This isn't Homeward Bound, guys. His best friend didn't die, but he is now playing for the Boston Bruins. And I mean, that hurt him. And I'm not sure losing Philip Hronek hurt him that much, but it's hard position for him to be in, especially to happen the exact minute you're supposed to give your press conference for signing your new huge contract, which was kind of like a kick in the nuts for him. But it was, which we know that Art loves talking about. But Dylan Larkin is my MVP because I think he's matured as a player, matured as a person, and just is ready to take this team forward. So my MVP.
Yeah, I had the same mindset with you. If Husso would have been able to maintain what he had for that first half of the season, or at least through December, because I think that's when right around then was when we talked to Daniela. That would have made the most sense. But the inconsistency, and not from him per se, but just the team in front of him, what they were doing, and the reality, I guess you could say, set in. So Larkin became the easy fallback option there, because if you look at the rest of the team, like no one truly stood out as the year went on. You could argue Seider, especially as the year went on, that he got stronger and the way that his defense got to a new level, it seemed like this season, as after many people thought that, oh, the sophomore slump and yada, yada, yada. Like they're pissed off because he wasn't scoring more points and whatever else is going on. But he was actually playing defense in comparison to what we were seeing. We weren't seeing a lot of the reverse hits. We weren't seeing the oohs and ahs moments, but it was a small shit that stood out where I could see where he could maybe have quite a few votes getting pulled his way for the season. But I went simply the captain.
Yeah, there was an article recently about, and I think it might have been Sean Shapiro that wrote it, that was just small stuff that Mo Seider has changed this season that's kind of elevated his game. And it was playing smarter defensively and then not going for the big hits and stuff. He'll jump in after play and hit people. Sarah, do you have the results up so far? Because I have some questions as to why Adam Ernie is on this list as well as Alex Nedeljkovic.
Well, 45 games in 15 games.
If you need me to per my last email at you, if you had read the description of the questions, I said what it was, and you heard me earlier consistently saying I did not rig the ballot. So anyone who meets those criteria gets on the list with running the risk of the Adam Ernie stands going
internet trolls.
He's the number one guy, but I felt pretty confident there weren't enough of them to drown out the voices of the more grounded collective.
But you let Jake pick Adam Ernie for MVP of the season, and that's what I will tell you right now is if there are any Adam Ernie votes, one of them is Jake Rivard. I just want to know if Oscar Sundqvist has any votes for MVP.
Let's see. I don't think so. Oh, who the hell voted for Ollie Mata? Come on.
See?
No.
There are troll votes.
Now that could be a misclick and they didn't realize.
That's what I think. I think they meant Larkin and they misclicked.
If you're I could see a Kubalik as a legit potential, okay, maybe somebody try to pretty that up in their mind, but Mata, that's got to be an oops.
I think that's a misclick. But we have 920 votes so far. So even these little outliers, it's not enough. But if there's something that comes down to a tie, which there are some that are pretty close, instead of having a runoff, I'll go through and I'll be like, who voted for someone really stupid consistently, and then delete their ballot and use that as the runoff criteria.
I said purged.
I forget which award it was. Was it spare parts? So I said, if you vote for Seider, Larkin, or Raymond, I'm deleting your ballot and arresting you.
You're never allowed to vote again.
That's what would determine
You're officially a felon and your voting rights have been revoked. But that's kind of the last question I wanted to go over for the awards. Again, you do an amazing job with this. There are more choices than ever. The awards are very funny. I want to bring back the podcast award, so that's my request for awards coming back. I want the Grindline Podcast Award.
Yeah, per my last email. No, I'm so sensitive to hurting people's feelings and making them feel left out that I just cut truly cut out every podcast. And I was sad that I didn't think Wim was going to exist. And I was like, if Wim can't have an award, no one can have an award.
Fuck it, the awards are canceled.
They're canceling. I'm too sad. I do have an award that I want to ask you guys about, though. I want to know who is your spare part, because the spare part award is my number one favorite award. I can't remember if this is a year one award. It might have been called something else. But the spare parts award for the guy who's just there. He's just that guy who's there.
This for me is easy. This is an easy one for me. It is Jordan Osterley. Jordan Osterley will forever be my spare part award. He's there. He's on the ice. You hear his name sometimes. You never know when he's in or out of the roster. It maybe would have been Matt Luff or an Austin Czarnik if they would have played a little more. But Jordan Osterley, and I think he gets re-signed, and I think he continues to be the spare part, because there are several times this season where we got really mad at Robert Haig. Can't be him. We know Magnus Hellberg by name, be for better or for worse, most recently for worse. But I mean, Jake Wallman, phenomenal. I've got to go with Osterley for the spare part award.
I want to say, if I remember correctly, it was I either chose him or Sonny. Because even with Sundqvist, like, you knew he was there, but it was like, what would you say that you do here? More often than not. But then he'd come out in the power play and then light it up. And you're like, hey, cool, Sundqvist is doing great. And then he's gone.
Ryan Office Spaces Oscar Sundqvist. What would you say you do here? I can't pick Sonny because the memes for Sonny were fantastic. I got so many good Photoshop opportunities.
That wasn't the criteria, Greg.
He provided me much joy.
Maybe it was fan base.
It's very open. It's very open interpretation. That's why I really like the award. You can be like, who was the most, statistically outstanding player out of this pile, of which the criteria are listed on the ballot if anyone wants to read it.
Yeah, vibes are right there, Ryan. It says
I think it was between Ernie Osterley and Sonny for me.
Sonny gave me phenomenal vibes. If I had to Marie Kondo the Red Wings roster, Oscar Sundqvist sparked joy. I would be keeping him. Marie Kondo.
The fuck is that?
She does organizational stuff. She had like a whole show where people were watching on Netflix, where if it sparks joy, you keep it. You pick up an item, and if you have an emotional attachment to it, it makes you happy, you keep it. But if you look at it and you go, I don't know what this is, you can get rid of it. And it's how you condense stuff. See?
That's joy. Oh, okay.
See.
Now, for a minute, the way you were explaining that, it sounded like we're getting ready to watch an episode of Hoarders.
No, it could have went that way for some of the people. But Oscar Sundqvist sparked joy, so I am keeping him as a person. But yeah, Jordan Osterley, that's got to be the one.
It's close. It's a close one. So people who want to vote, who haven't voted yet and want to vote, this is one where it's really going to count.
What's the closest race right now?
Hot and Ready is pretty close. This is a guy. For the difference between the top two is 4 votes. 4 votes out of 920 is what's separating first and second place as far as who is a guy. Who is I think what even that was that one. That was most forgettable.
Yeah, so if you really want your vote to count, come in and vote on the This Is a Guy award, which is going to be a giant picture of Larry Murphy's face. It has to be as the award graphic, but there are opportunities for your vote to sway which way the results go. I kind of want to end tonight, Sarah, with what is your kind of direction for the team? What way do you think the Red Wings are going to go the offseason? What do you think are important things for Steve to focus on and just kind of move us forward going into next year?
Well, I'm gonna read Prashant's upcoming article about if I was Steve Yzerman, here's what I'd do. And I'm gonna be like, yeah, same Z's. But it's been hard to think about next season. The weird thing is that with the playoffs happening, this is the first time I've really felt like envy in a couple of years of being like, I really wish this with the Red Wings. Like, it feels like we're almost there, even if we just get annihilated in the first round. Previous years, it's been like, playoffs, whatever. I'm not really interested. I'm still not super interested, but I am feeling very like envious, which I hadn't had that emotional response for a couple of years. So, which was unrelated to your question, but I said it anyway.
I just can't wait to waste my money to watch us get stomped in at LCA.
Yeah.
Hey, that place is going to be electric and it's going to be worth every dime.
Exactly. That's just the envy. I'm never going to try and predict Steve Yzerman because what the hell do I know? I feel very uneducated right now about what's free agency, who's up, who's not up, who the hell are any of the draft picks. I'll be prepared to get angry at the draft lottery. It'll almost be disappointing if we do well because I'm so used to being like, fuck, what the fuck? Why did the Penguins win the lottery? This is bullshit. So
don't speak that into existence, please.
I'm preparing that response. I think what we've seen is encouraging, and I think a lot of it. I can't decide if this makes you sound like an asshole or not, but I think a lot of it's on the players we have to step up their game. Joe Vlahn is going to gain 15 pounds of muscle, and that's all Bally Sports is going to talk about for 2 weeks.
They're going to have a segment on his thighs.
That girthy boy.
God, of ways you can describe someone, that certainly was one.
I'm telling you, that's going to be.
Is that how many people feel when you say the word moist? Because I think I just had that same reaction.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm just getting you ready for things that Keats and Brooke are going to say.
I just make a t-shirt now, the girthy boy.
The Joe Veleno Girth Club.
But what's really going to determine how we do is not what pieces we add or subtract, but honestly, if everybody takes that step up and gets healthy, that's our deadline acquisition.
Thanks, Ken Holland.
But honestly, I think that's going to be the big difference, that we have a decent foundation. Yes, we need to add parts. We need to cut off parts that could rhyme with Ben Sherratt. And the difference is that, well, I don't know if it's different, but it sounds like they're all really committed, that the players in their, postseason interviews sounded excited and not, oh, we fucked it up again. Shoot. But saying we kind of got a taste of where we could go, and they all sound really determined, genuinely determined to make the playoffs, and not just if wishes were horses, we all would ride, but actually believing. I'm trying to be a little folksy. Get your Mickey
That's
Redmond.
some Wild West shit right there.
Getting your Mickey Redmond in.
We're gonna go jump on the horse
and give me Elmer Soderblom.
Yeah, the behemoth must come in.
Give me our girthy boys.
The girth boys. Oh God!
Give me the redwoods. Give me.
I think I finally found the term that just gives me a fucking full body chill.
Gotcha. That's what I'm here for. But yeah, in conclusion, I have no idea what the hell Steve Yzerman's going to do. I know I'm going to react based on how everyone else reacts, and if everybody does their workouts, doesn't skip leg day, we'll be pretty good.
Can't wait for the montage.
People are going to panic in October and be like, oh no, we lost 5 games. Let's all hurl ourselves off the bridge. But no, hang on, guys. We're going to get there. It's going to be good.
Like I said before, we have to be team therapist and fan base therapist. It's all going to be okay. Let's just chill out and it's all going to be okay. But Sarah, I want to thank you for coming on to talk about the awards and other stuff with us. I'm going to give you a free moment to plug yourself and wherever people can find you, whatever you're doing besides just, chillaxing online.
What am I doing? Follow me on Twitter as long as it exists at Helmeroids. I'm not spelling it. Look it up. I'm Super Nintendo Chalmers, by the way. If you can't find it, so Super Nintendo Chalmers, Helmeroids on Twitter. I think I have accounts on all the 8,000 other backup social platforms that we've all done. Also, I'm always Helmeroids. Find me, and you can vote on the awards through whatever date I said. We'll say for 2 weeks. And then on May 12th, right? I should have looked up my own information. I'm really I'm slaying
for confirmation.
What the hell did I say? I don't know. I'm on the wrong month. Leave me alone.
Greg asked us before every episode. What episode are we on? I don't fucking know. It's your job.
When's my own award show? Where is my assistant? Friday, May 12th, 7 p.m. Eastern time. I will be live tweeting the results of the awards, along with sprinkling in things from the past 10 years. 10 years. And yeah, vote. The link is pinned to my Twitter profile, or you can ask me and I will send you the link, but don't do that because that sounds like work. So
And we will be retweeting everything and live tweeting the awards as well. And if you can't spell, because, some people can't, Sarah will be tagged in the podcast and the awards will be linked below the episode. So you can vote and follow her at the same time if you're not good at spelling in English and such. But Ryan?
Go watch hockey. Final thoughts right there. That's the awards are fantastic. I should be able to catch the beginning of them. I likely have softball that Friday night because we are full swing with that for the small humans. 11-year-old softball. It's life apparently at this point. But yeah, playoffs have been fun. I don't really have many final thoughts tonight, so I'll leave it at that. Already Ryan 33.
Well, you can follow me online at Bringing the Wing. Follow Grindline Podcast online at Grindline Pod. We'll give a shout out to the Hockey Podcast Network at HockeyPodNet on Twitter for hosting us and spreading our podcast around everywhere. We also like to give a shout out to Vintage Detroit, which is the only place you should get your Detroit jerseys from and worked on. If you use the promo code Grindline at howieshockeytape.com, you get 10% off your order. Use that same promo code at Bring Hockey Back, you get 12%. You can check out our merch at redbubble.com by searching the Grind Line and go sub to our channel on YouTube and turn on the notifications. You'll get notified anytime an episode or other YouTube content goes live. But that is going to do it for us tonight. So for Ryan, I am Greg. Thank you again, Sarah. You stay classy, Hockey Town.